The first time Lieutenant Jackson Pierce met Princess Zalari of the Lutheri Dominion, she had a blade at his throat. Not a metaphorical one. A literal gleaming blade shaped like a curved comet, held with practiced precision in her four-fingered hand. Her indigo skin shimmered in the artificial lighting of the crashed Lutheri diplomatic cruiser. Its smoking wreckage sprawled across the neutral zone of the planet Ravenna. 4. Jackson raised both hands in surrender, speaking slowly. "I'm here to help." The princess narrowed her luminous violet eyes. "Humans claim peace, then hide armies behind smiles." "Not this time," Jackson replied. "Check the scanner. No weapons drawn. No backup. I came alone when I saw the distress beacon." She hesitated. Her people didn't trust easily, especially not the human race, whose expansion across the stars had been swift and sometimes clumsy. But something in Jackson's voice, or perhaps in his ridiculous patched-up exosuit, convinced her to lower the blade. And that was the moment everything began to change. Over the next 3 days, Jackson helped Zalari and the handful of surviving crew construct a signal tower and stabilize their wounded. The Lutheri medical tech was advanced but had been damaged in the crash. Jackson used human ingenuity, duct tape, and a few of his nanobot patches to get it working again. By the second night, the princess had gone from wariness to fascination. "You're different from other humans," she said as they sat beside a makeshift campfire. "More for ambience than heat, as Ravenna, for had a temperate climate." "Because I don't shoot first and ask questions later," he replied, smirking. "No," she said thoughtfully. "Because you see us not as rivals or puzzles, but people." He shrugged. "We're all just trying to survive out here. I figure it's better to do it together than apart." She tilted her head, eyes reflecting starlight. "You sound like someone meant to lead. Or someone meant to love." Jackson laughed. "I'm not royalty, princess. I fix engines, shoot straight, and make decent coffee." "Perhaps," she said with a mysterious smile, "that is exactly what our royalty needs." Middle. By the time the Lutheri rescue ship arrived, Princess Zalari had insisted Jackson be honored for his role in protecting and aiding her people. He'd expected a pat on the back, maybe even a medal. He did not expect to be invited, scratch that, commanded, to accompany Zalari back to Lutheria Prime. His commanding officer back on Earth Command groaned. "You're supposed to observe and report, not sweep alien royalty off their feet." "It's not like that," Jackson protested. "You're on every Lutheri newsfeed holding her hand." "Holding her hand, Pierce." Jackson groaned. "It was a cultural gesture of respect." "Yeah, well, in their culture that might as well be a proposal." He didn't believe it until he stepped off the landing platform on Lutheria Prime. Thousands of Lutheri citizens cheered as he descended beside the princess. Banners flew. Choirs sang. Confetti, biodegradable and pleasantly aromatic, floated down from ornate towers. Zalari?" he asked cautiously. She turned, radiant in ceremonial attire that shimmered like moonlight on ocean water. "Yes, my chosen." His brain short-circuited. "Wait. Chosen?" Her grin widened. "You held my hand during a moment of personal vulnerability. You repaired my people's technology with your own methods, despite cultural differences. You slept beside our fires with trust. That meets all the traditional criteria for bonding recognition." "I didn't wait. So you are taking me as your life partner, human?" she asked, her voice hopeful, eyes wide with excited innocence. He blinked. "I what? You didn't know?" she asked, expression faltering. "I thought you were just being nice. Friendly." "Humans are confusing," she muttered. Do you not propose with shared acts of loyalty and courage? We usually use a ring and words. Maybe get down on one knee. How inefficient, she said, cocking her head. Do you object to being my mate? He opened his mouth, then closed it. And then, after a long pause, said, I guess there are worse things than marrying a princess who trusts you with her life. Her face lit up like 1,000 supernovae. What followed was chaos. The Lutherie Council was divided. Some loved the idea of uniting with humanity through an unprecedented royal bond. Others viewed Jackson as a threat to tradition. Meanwhile, Earth Command was losing its collective mind over a potential diplomatic incident. Or worse, a scandal. The media dubbed him the accidental groom. But behind palace doors, a different story unfolded. Zalari wasn't just a princess. She was heir to the throne and a reformist. I want our people to stop fearing outsiders, she told Jackson one night in the royal gardens. You showed me we can coexist. Your spirit, your humor, your hands, they build trust. That is what my people need. You make me sound heroic, Jackson said, tugging at the high-collared formal where she'd picked out for him. You are. Even if you don't believe it. Their connection deepened. They spent hours together, sparring with practice blades he lost every time, debating policy over Lutherie nectar wine, and increasingly just being two people trying to find their place in the universe. But not everyone was happy. A faction of traditionalist nobles, enraged by what they called the human corruption, plotted to discredit the Union. They kidnapped Jackson during a solo diplomatic visit to the outer moon colonies, demanding Zalari renounce him or face civil upheaval. Zalari's answer was swift. She commandeered her royal guard, boarded a fighter herself, and led a brutal but precise rescue operation that ended with Jackson in her arms, dazed and bloody, but alive. You came for me, he rasped. I swore I would protect you, she said, brushing his cheek. Lutherie mates do not leave their chosen behind. Ending. The rescue changed everything. The nobility saw the fierce loyalty in their princess. The people saw the sincerity of her devotion to a human man who'd risked everything for them. The council, reluctant but pragmatic, gave their blessing. An Earth Command. Once they realized Jackson's marriage meant an unprecedented human voice within a powerful alien empire, they began calling him Ambassador Pierce. A month later, beneath the twin moons of Lutheria, Jackson stood beside Zalari in a ceremony unlike any Earth wedding. They wore armor instead of suits, exchanged blade hilts instead of rings, and instead of vows, they carved their names into a ceremonial stone meant to last millennia. As he held her hand, again very deliberately this time, he whispered, "So this is forever?" She leaned in, forehead resting gently against his. Forever and beyond. After the ceremony, as guests from dozens of species celebrated the union, Jackson found himself staring up at the stars. Zalari joined him, resting her head on his shoulder. "What are you thinking, human?" she asked. "I'm thinking the universe is full of surprises," he said. "Like crash landings, alien blades, and falling in love with someone I thought I'd never understand." She smiled. "Then I am glad you misunderstood me first." They laughed. The music rose. Somewhere across the stars, policies were changing. Borders were shifting. Peace was possible. But for one human and one alien princess, all that mattered was that they'd found each other. By accident, through chaos, and completely on purpose. And the galaxy would never be the same.